Okay, we're all set.
Nice.
Okay, we will kick off our finance meeting. We will first do a roll call. Councilmember Gully is not joining us yet. We are hopeful that he joins. I called him a couple times. He's probably having linkage problems, and there's not golf linkage problems, Councilmember Cummings. Councilmember Ash McPherson.
I arrived.
Councilmember Steele.
Here.
Councilmember Cummings.
I'm here.
Councilmember Zalewski.
Here.
Councilmember McDermott.
Here.
And Council President Mantello's here. We have 6 present, 1 absent. I would ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I brought our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, I apologize. We will get the finance up very quickly. This evening, we have a number of items that are going to address the budget. And before moving forward, I would like to, if everyone's okay with this, just do a moment of silence for George Floyd. Okay. Okay. And we have asked Andy to give us a brief overview of the items that are on this evening's agenda. And this is a follow-up to many conversations that we have had with the mayor in terms of the impact on our budget of the COVID economic shutdown. We have entered phase 1. We're entering phase 2. We pray we don't have to enter into phase 3 and 4. We did pass unanimously a resolution requesting our federal reps come through and pass a federal stimulus package to address municipalities' budgets. Obviously, we're not the only municipality who's seeing loss in revenues, a reduction in state aid, sales tax reduction, departmental income reductions, revenues not coming in. So Andy is going to brief us. I'd love to hear where we are to date, Andy, maybe on the revenues, and obviously, more importantly, the package that is in front of us this evening. And obviously, I don't know if you and the mayor want to both, the mayor speak, then you, or you speak, then the mayor, but whichever works. And thank you, and take it away, please.
All right, so as the city council president mentioned, I'm just going to kind of give an overview of what's on the agenda at a 10,000 foot level tonight. In regards to kind of where we're at, not much has changed since the last time we spoke. I'm still awaiting first quarter sales tax. We should have that hopefully within the next week. Definitely within the next week. We'll get that number in and see how that compares. As everyone knows, there was April was down 20% on its own. March was up slightly from that of the prior year. So we have to see how May is and assess from there. There was some good news today. We received mortgage tax. That was actually up $30,000 from the first payment in 2019. So there was some good financial news today. Specific questions regarding any ordinance or resolution that we've put up tonight, I'll certainly answer as we go through them. This is meant, again, as a 10,000-foot level. The goal in the plan remains the same, to maintain all city services and employment for all city employees throughout, which is what you're seeing this evening. So the two phases that are on the agenda tonight are the budget reductions and the bond resolutions that will result in bond anticipation note issuances. We do continue to monitor activity at the federal level and maintain communication with state and other local governments, and the consensus, not much has changed. It's still the same. Obviously, the federal level, not much activity. Since the last time we spoke, HEROES Act passed the House. I don't really know what the plan is in the Senate, and I don't know where the SMART Act stands in the Senate these days. But in speaking with local governments and school districts, it's the same thinking. We're still all kind of guessing as to state aid implications. So that's where things of that nature stand. Just to note, the next phase that we had discussed, the revenue anticipation note, we will begin working on that in the coming days with legislation to follow. I would imagine sometime in July. There is a significant amount of background work that goes into that. So like I said, we will start pivot in my office. We will start pivoting full-fledged on that tomorrow and Thursday. The first quote unquote phase is the budgetary reductions and savings. That is split between 4 ordinances on this agenda. It's ordinances 31, 32, 37, and 40. All of those, that is split between the general fund and the water fund. The water fund, ordinances 31 and 32, is just a simple cleanup of outstanding capital project accounts, all of which transfer funds to a designated specific contingency account to save cash outflows within the operating budget. None of this legislation on the agenda tonight brings money into the city. Right now, it is about mitigating the outflows from the operating budgets and cash amounts of the 4 operating funds of the city. The total approximate budgetary savings and cash outflow savings from the 4 ordinances is just under 2.2 million. $2,167,000 of that is in the general fund. And just to note, this will obviously not be a one-time event. I would imagine and hope that there will be further specific pieces of legislation as we see savings throughout the year. We obviously will continue to monitor everything as it goes. The second phase per se is the bond resolutions. On the agenda, that is reflective of ordinances 30, 34, 35, 36, 38, 39, and resolutions 52 to 58. The intent is to issue bond anticipation notes for the 6 resolutions included in the agenda to achieve both a budgetary savings through previously allocated monies from the general fund, and also to alleviate the reliance on the general fund operating cash to float monies for capital projects or expend money from the general fund on the capital projects. And when I talk about float money, it means that there is a reimbursement tied to it that we're not in a position right now to pay. For example, 7th and Ingalls Ave Park is on this agenda. There are 2 SAM grants associated with that project. We are not in a position today to pay an invoice and submit for reimbursement once the project is completed and wait for the reimbursement to come in from the state. There's 2 types of savings. Yes.
Do you mind repeating that again?
We are not in a position sitting here today to pay for capital projects that are pending reimbursement out of general fund operating cash. It's just not feasible.
Okay.
I want to reiterate something that we had said at the last meeting. When we allocated these funds in 2019, it was the right decision. We've talked countless times about the need to move away from doing this type of activity. However, where we sit here today, in my perspective, the right decision is to put these items on bond resolutions with the full intention that if and when federal aid is approved by Congress and received by the city, it will be directly used to pay off all principal and interest costs related to any bond resolution on this agenda. That's the entire intent of doing this. The bond resolutions themselves create, from a budget perspective, a general fund's budgetary savings of $845,000 and a outflow cash savings to general fund operating cash of $1.725 million. So we had talked about a $6.6 million budget gap through phase 1 and 2 on the agenda tonight for the general fund. Almost $3 million is incorporated within all of this legislation. Just to note, similar to the budgetary reductions, we continue to have an ongoing review of all capital projects. At the June finance meeting, I do anticipate there being at least one further bond resolution on that agenda for a CHIPS related project that is ongoing, that is reimbursable from the state, that is in the same position that the city is. It creates a cash flow. It creates a cash flow negativity in a sense where either we pay for ongoing operating costs or the capital project. So we will be bringing forward at least one more bond resolution for an ongoing project. I just want to note that that was discovered late this afternoon. We have contacted bond counsel today and they have begun writing it. I know that's a lot in a short amount of time. I talked with the council president this morning about doing an overview just so that the council has an understanding before we get into the specifics of the legislation of what is on the agenda this evening.
Good. I think the overview was very, very helpful, Andy. I guess, so very quickly, this is, I would take it, the match that was going to be for the grants, correct?
It is both local monies and also grant reimbursement monies. So for example, 7th and Ingalls Park's resolution is for, hold on one second, $655,000. $150,000 of that was previously allocated from the general fund to that project as the local share of the project. The remaining balance was going to be gifts and donations from not-for-profit agencies in the Detroit area, along with the SAM grant. So there are instances where it is split. There are other instances where it is entirely general fund money. So it is a hybrid. Very long-winded answer.
And that's where I was getting confused because I couldn't find all the monies because they're all in different pieces, different spots, correct? Like, it's not like there's a line item for Ingalls and 7th, 150K or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Ordinance. So just for example, on that, you have resolution 55, which authorizes the issuance of $655,000.
right.
But then you have an ordinance 30 on the Schedule A, $150,000 being returned to the general fund.
Correct.
So that's where you see the differences between the local monies and the reimbursable funds.
Okay. Okay. So I think it'd be helpful when we go through these, if you have the dollars right in front of you, only because I don't have two screens and I wasn't able to print them out, so I'm jumping. Do you mind, just saying what those dollars are? That would be helpful. Okay, good. From a 10,000 foot perspective, obviously it's a moving target. Do council members, without going through each item, because we'll do that when we go through the legislation, does anyone have questions for Andy from the 10,000 foot perspective? Is everyone gets it, I take it?
I'm fine.
Okay. Okay. Mayor, did you want to add anything before we proceed?
No, I think that was a great exercise. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to ask us. It's a little complex. We understand that. It's the first time we've done something like this, so there's bound to be some questions. Don't hesitate to ask, please.
Okay, and Andy, overall, so you're saying in total, we had talked about a $6.6 million gap before that, the 4.6, because we're saving 2 mil, correct, in the department expenditures. So we brought down the 4.6, and then we're looking at 2.2 and then 2,167K in terms of the short term, correct?
So between all the legislation tonight, it creates a budgetary savings to the general fund of $3,012,919. 2.167 from the budget transfers in the unemployment reserve, and then the 845 from the bond resolutions.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I was having a tough time. I went back. I wasn't sure if the 845 was coming from all of this year's budget or last year's 2019 and 2020, but I got it now. Okay. All right. I mean, obviously the goal here is, to do everything humanly possible to, get through this without putting the burden on the shoulders of our taxpayers and trying to keep our services intact. I mean, that's the goal. So I think this package attempts to do that. And real quick, do we want to talk about phase 3 and 4 before we proceed? Obviously, you're moving forward with the RAN. That's part of phase 3, correct, Andy?
Correct. So probably looking at sometime in July for legislation with the RAN. Like I mentioned before, the focus really has been on getting all this package to the council tonight and having all the information ready for any questions, and then pivoting out of as best as we can, right? Because it's still going to be a lot of monitoring and of revenues and expenses. Start working on some of the worksheets of the analysis work that needs to be done as part of issuing a RAN to get the timing correct with the specific rules that come from it.
Okay.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Andy, the only thing I'm going to ask is if we can get a little bit more notice instead of day before to try to go through this and absorb everything that's going through it. So if you're looking to put something else together for the July meeting, we can have more of a notice to have time to look everything through. I'd appreciate it, because I'm getting all this just last night.
I believe the agenda was sent out on Friday, and just so the council is aware, I had specifically requested to move them to do a special meeting this evening to allow enough time for the council to review. So I don't want the impression to be that that by any means that I had dropped this last minute. I mean, I had tried to give the council as much time as possible within there's specific dates that we have to meet, and to get if this passes issued in accordance with rules that we have another week. And that's why I had specifically talked and asked that this meeting be tonight and not last Thursday, to give the council enough time to review it.
Councilmember Gully has joined us, and I have to defend Andy, actually. If you recall, we had talked about doing this last Thursday, but Andy was like, listen, I'm crunching it. I don't want to do a 24-hour. We actually sent the agenda out on Friday. So the special meeting was sent out yesterday. Councilmember Ashley McPherson, but the finance, which is exactly the same as the special, was sent on Friday. So
I do not have the finance. This is what I got. I've been looking all through this for the finance and I don't have it.
yeah, Mara sent it. Hold on, Mara, I just want to, because you're on it, and this is obviously very serious, that, and she sent it to all, bear with me. Oh, hold on. Mara sent it. Oh,
I sent it at 4:16 p.m. on Friday.
Yeah. Kim,
And I will say Andy's stuff was ready to go much earlier, but we were waiting on some other last minute legislation, not from Andy. Andy's stuff was ready to go much earlier.
yeah. And Councilmember Ash McPherson, if you look, it came at, actually, bear with me. Bloop, 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 bloop. I have-
Council President, I'm not going to sit here and have a debate over it. I'm just telling you, I don't have it. Okay, I didn't get it until last night.
Okay, I'm just telling you it was sent on Friday because obviously we needed to make sure, you know, that everyone had gotten it for the weekend. So the finance went out on Friday, the special went out yesterday. Councilmember Gully, thank you for joining us. And I will now go into the public forum. Do we have, and I know Councilmember Zalewski and all of us, I believe, received, Mara, the ordinance 29. That is not on the agenda unless it was untabled. So if you want to put that in a special meeting, it's fine. And put it, when we go to the special meeting, it can go into that public forum, but there is no ordinance 29 on this evening's agenda. It would have to be untabled, and it is not. So are there any other comments for the agenda for the finance meeting?
No, then all three of the comments I received can go on the special.
Perfect. Okay. Good. All right. Bear with me. We are going into the agenda. I wish I had like 3 screens. All right. Let's hit it. We have no local laws. We'll go into, we have to do the resolutions before the ordinances, folks. So bear with me because certain resolutions go with various ordinances and the resolution has to be passed first before the ordinance, okay? So for ordinance 30, we're going to go to resolution 55.
Can I ask that resolution 52 go first, because that's the seeker, please?
Sure. Oh, okay, great. Yep. All right, so we'll do the seeker, resolution 52, then the actual bond resolution, resolution 55, and then we'll hit the ordinance, ordinance 30. I'll go slow. So we're going to hit the seeker first, resolution 52, okay? Resolution 52, resolution determining the proposed actions are type 2 actions for purposes of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zalewski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Now we are going to go to the actual resolution, and there's the bond resolution. Bond resolution.
Council President,
Yes.
just a procedural issue. We should also call for all those opposed.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, resolution 52 carries 7-0. Let's jump to resolution 55. All right, and that's the actual bond resolution. So bond resolution 55 and bond resolution, the city of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of an additional $655,000 serial bonds to finance parks, playgrounds, and recreational areas improvements. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, that was Councilmember Gully.
Yes.
Very good. Discussion. Andy, this one?
Yeah, so this is an additional $655,000 for the ongoing project at 7th and Ingalls Park, which is underway. As I mentioned before, $655,000 is the additional issuance. However, $150,000 is the piece of that returns to the general fund. The remaining balance is for donations procured by the deputy mayor for the project, along with 2 SAM grants procured for the project for funding. So $655,000 for cash flow, of which $150,000 is a part of Ordinance 30 and is returned to the general fund.
Okay. And I'd like to do that for each one. I think it's very helpful if you don't mind.
That works.
Okay, thank you. Discussion? Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, if you want to raise your hand in favor, and then we'll do oppose. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Resolution 55 carries 7-0. Now we are going to go to Ordinance 30. And that's the actual ordinance for Resolution 55 for the bond. And this is the 7th Ave and Ingalls Ave Park. Ordinance, bear with me, I'm jumping. Ordinance 30, ordinance amending the capital projects fund and general fund budgets. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second? Second. Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ordinance 30 carries 7-0. Okay, now we are going to jump, bear with me, to Resolution 54. Resolution 54 goes with Ordinance 34. Ordinance 34 is to create the capital project. So if we could go to Resolution 54, Resolution 54, bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $275,000 serial bonds to finance the cost of the acquisition, installation, and upgrade of police cameras on city streets. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
I saw Councilmember Ash McPherson second. Your, I don't know if your mute wasn't working. Okay.
Yeah, I had it off.
Okay, Councilmember Ash McPherson seconds. Discussion. Andy, obviously, this is for the, now, quick question. Is this for the upgrade in addition to the present cameras? Is this in addition to that, or is it just the present cameras?
My understanding in talking with Chief Owens, it's for the present cameras that has been discussed for at least a year, to my recollection. This was put out to bid. I believe the balance have been with an opening that occurred in April. and I talked with Chief Owens yesterday, they continue to review the bids received. They're probably at least 2 weeks out from selecting a vendor. The amount of the bond is based off of amounts received as part of the bid. And to note, it's $275,000 in cash savings, no savings per se to the general fund. And that project has long been discussed that there is funding from a SAM grant for this project. And then the intention had been to use forfeiture monies for any additional funds that were needed. I talked with the chief, and what we are going to look to do instead, to look at other savings to the general fund for the remainder of the year, is after they pick a vendor. So you can only use this debt up until the point that you turn the cameras on and they work. Any ongoing maintenance costs cannot be used. This debt is not authorized to use for ongoing maintenance costs. So any further costs that are incurred from this for operational purposes for the remainder of 2020 will be used out of the forfeiture money. So that's where the budgetary savings will come in, is down the road. Once a vendor selected and we know the operating costs for the remainder of the year. So there's zero, it's zero, but I will say for now it's zero. And then we'll see how things fall the rest of the year.
Okay. Obviously, many of us have expressed the need to get these cameras, especially the ones that are up running. Obviously, they work at certain times. It's more of a software issue. You don't know off the top of your head how many bids came in, do you, Andy?
I don't know the exact number, but I know there were
Numerous.
multiple bids.
Yeah, I recall before COVID, we did get an update and then COVID hit. I think we were ready, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, to move forward before COVID hit. All right, further discussion? All right, all in favor on bond resolution 54? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, resolution 54 carries 7-0. Now we're going to go back to the actual ordinance to create the capital project, and that's ordinance 34. So ordinance 34, ordinance authorizing the city to create a capital project and amending the capital projects fund budget to allow funding for said capital project. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, we have a tie. I'll give it to Councilmember Ash McPherson on this one. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion ordinance 34. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, ordinance 34 carries 7-0. Okay, now we're going to go to, bear with me, resolution 53. And that resolution is a $350,000 bond for the reconstruction, I believe, of Spring and Campbell. So bond resolution 53, bond resolution in the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $350,000 serial bonds to finance the reconstruction of various city streets in the city. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember McDermott. Discussion. Andy, if you want to fill us in on this real quick. And Monica, I'm just going to ask you for an update on this project. Thank you.
This is a simple one, $350,000 in cash savings, $350,000 back to the general fund.
That's good. Okay. Monica?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
I just want to make sure. I know I have my headphones in because somebody's mowing the lawn next door.
How dare they?
So the project, we had to do a couple tweaks. There was a mistake in the design for the poles. So they are, they reordered and redesigned the poles, but the poles there's only 2 manufacturers in the entire country that make them. So it's a 22-week lead time. We're only in about 6 weeks of 22 weeks right now. So it'll be a long time. We'll continue to maintain that. They'll have everything done and completed up until that point. So it will be a little bit longer, unfortunately, probably fall before we get that put up. So, but that's the update on that. So we'll continue to monitor the stop signs and make sure they're in place and still stay in touch with all the neighbors like we have been doing. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I know some folks have been really concerned about the safety there and
Yeah, well, this also gives us a little bit of time to take a look if we have the opportunity to do that sidewalk down Project Road at the same time. So when it's kind of done, also gives us a little bit of time for the CHIPS paving, because that area that intersection there is supposed to be part of the CHIPS paving that we're waiting for the state to determine if they're going to continue to fund that or not this month or this year, given current situation. So it gives us a little bit of time to answer some of those outstanding questions too.
yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up about the chips. Yesterday, the AGC, NICOM, New York Conference of Mayors, NISAC, and a couple other folks, just so everyone knows, and I'll send you the letter that they sent to the governor. And they're obviously, thanking the governor thus far for his leadership. Additionally, though, they've all come together to essentially ask for the release of the CHIPS dollars. And especially, they're saying the construction season is short, May through mid-September. And they're obviously very anxious and very concerned about CHIPS funding. So
So are we.
better. Yeah.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
to the Deputy Mayor, Monica, even though there's this wait period for the polls, the project itself, the intersection is still continuing, right? I mean, it's not like the whole thing is held up now.
Oh, yeah. So those will be anything else that has to be done that's not in direct relationship to those polls will be completed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good correction. Yeah. Further discussion, questions? Okay, resolution 53, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, resolution 53 carries 7-0. I can't wait till we meet in person. I have to tell you. All right, we're going to jump back to Ordinance 35. Ordinance 35 is creating the capital project line for this project. Ordinance 35, ordinance amending the capital projects fund and general fund budgets. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion, ordinance 35. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, ordinance 35 carries 7-0. Now we are going to jump, folks, to resolution 57. Okay, I'll wait for everyone to get there. Okay, resolution 57, bond resolution in the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $165,000 serial bonds to finance the cost of various projects for the fire department. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Andy, want to fill us in on this one, please?
$165,000 in cash savings and $165,000 back to the general fund.
Very good. And Andy, is part of this also going for the planning of the Lansing Burg or no?
Yes, so in the resolution, section A authorizes up to $32,000 in the planning. I talked to Chief McMahon. That's the accurate dollar amount that is required for that project. And then the remaining balance is allocated to various facility renovations that the chief deems that he would like to complete.
Do we have a time frame, Andy, for the firehouse?
That's a question for Chief McMahon.
Mayor, do you happen to know when, I mean, is an RFP going out?
I do know an RFP has gone out. I would imagine if this passes, it will be awarded fairly quickly.
An RFP did go out for the preliminary design standards. That I presume could proceed immediately once financing is lined up, depending, of course, on the consultant's schedule.
Thank you, Mayor. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 This is resolution 57. Anyone opposed? Okay, resolution 57 carries 7-0. We're now going to jump back to ordinance 36, and that's creating the amending the capital projects fund. Ordinance amending the capital projects fund and general fund budgets. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Ash McPherson, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, ordinance 36 carries 7-0. We are now going to go to resolution 56. I'll let everyone get there.
Yeah, Council President, I'm motioning everything just to make it a little easier so that, it's not, you don't have to figure it out.
Okay,
You can
if I'm
take someone else
looking
if you
down,
want.
I know it's so funny. If I'm looking down, it's so hard sometimes to distinguish, between Kim and Sue and Eileen. Boom. Okay. All right. Resolution 56. Bond resolution in the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $180,000 serial bond to finance the cost of various projects for the police department. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Ash McPherson. See that,
Ken and
Council?
I are going back and forth.
She's a rebel. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Andy, if you don't mind.
$180,000 in cash savings and $180,000 in budgetary savings to the general fund.
Okay. Thank you. And I take it 100 various projects. Andy, can you go into the projects?
This is, in December 2019, we had allocated $180,000 for the construction of the police impound building in between the police station and the news apartment building. That's what this money is directly for. That project is under contract, and I believe construction has started or is about to begin.
Monica? I saw you shaking your head.
Yes, the construction was actually supposed to start last week. And obviously we delayed that due to the situation last week. So Todd was going to follow back up and see when they can remobilize. I would assume we'll just take a temperature as this week continues and then see when they're ready to go. But they're ready to all set. I signed all the purchase orders and requisitions and stuff already.
Thank you.
Yep.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, resolution 56 carries 7-0. We're now going to go to ordinance 38. And that will be amending the capital projects fund. Ordinance 38, ordinance amending the capital projects fund and general fund budgets, Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson, beat to the punch. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 38 carries 7-0. Okay, we are now going to go to Resolution 58. I'll let folks scroll down. Resolution 58, bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of an additional $100,000 serial bond to finance the rehabilitation of Powers Park. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Andy?
This would be $100,000 in cash savings, no savings to the general fund. This was a project that was recently had its bid opening. This is additional monies needed for the project. There is a resolution 59 is an MOU with CDTA that reimburses over 50%. I think I don't remember the exact dollar amount. I know it's over 50% of the additional $100,000 on this agenda. So that there's no budgetary savings, but there is a reimbursement tied to this $100,000.
And, I guess the question would be, why would CDTA be reimbursing for Powers? Sure, Monica.
Oh, pushing to my, no, I was looking at Andy, sorry, and I was looking at all of you too, but so this is part of the work that CDTA was doing as part of their BRT improvements going on 2nd Avenue, included the work on one of the corners. So they were able to supply us with money for that area, but we have to pay for it up front, and then they'll reimburse us for that cost. And then this also covers the local share that SAM grants have. So that covers that, as well as the share for, or the part for the CDTA.
Okay. Yes.
Council President,
First, Councilmember Cummings, and then Councilmember Gully.
Just to clarify on the CDTA part, are they doing work on site as well, or is it just our crew is going to do all the work and then get reimbursed? How is that?
We're doing the work and then they reimburse us.
Okay. I assume, okay, great. And then 2, I know we went back and forth a bunch last year on the scope of this project. So I just wanted to get clarity on where we've ended up on it and why the additional funds are needed.
So the additional funds are needed to cover the CDTA portion of that, and as well as the local match. And then the scope, hold on a second, I'm pulling it up right now. The scope is new perimeter sidewalks for the entire park. It's a stamped concrete that looks like slate. We're going to replace on River and 111th, install new on 3rd and 110th, and the slate will be retained by the city for use elsewhere. Install new wrought iron fencing where no fencing currently exists to match the historical fencing of the park. And then there are add alternates depending on the funding that we have remaining. And that is the installation of a ground hydrant for water, and then planting of street trees that comply with the National Grid specs around the park as well.
Great. And so the Dormitory Authority is paying for most of that. And we've pulled back on the work within the inside of the park.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Councilmember Gully.
Monica, I noticed on the plans, there's a setback for a seating area for the bus, and it's going to be coming onto park property. And I always thought that when you take away park property, you have to give some back. So is that small enough that we can get away from that rule and implement that area in there?
I'll have to take a look at it. It's not like we're giving away the park. We're not rededicating it. So we're still using it as park facilities. It's just being used as like a patio, so to speak. But I can double check on that.
Can we ask them for a little pro gratis there? Maybe a nice run off of that power pole that's over behind the stage to maybe 100-amp box on that side where they're going to put in that setback. That is where all the vendors seem to go and conjure. So we'll have to move them, which means we'll either have to have extension cords running across the ground, or maybe they would graciously put in a power box on that side so that the vendors won't have to run cords across the park entrance that's on the west north side.
We can certainly look at it, but that's not something that CDTA wouldn't cover that as far as the BRT project, but we can certainly ask. We'll just have to add to the scope of work because we're doing the work, Jim, and then they're going to reimburse us. So we can check. I can have Steve check into it.
Council President?
But didn't we do, hold on one second, we did additional power on the north end of the park last year or the year before, didn't we? When they hit it, when somebody took out the pole?
No.
There was no additional power put in. I had reached out to Hudson Valley Community College and John Van Alstyne, and working on a program to have them donate the services to put in a 100-amp box on that side for the vendors. But after the accident, everything kind of stalled out until we seen. But there was no changes except for a new pole and the box that's there reestablished.
Does John and Hudson Valley want to do that?
I
didn't
can
know
reach out
anything-
to him
yeah.
again. I don't know. I can reach out to him again, but that was a conversation I had with them. In case we were gonna, we were gonna keep the park the way it is as we are, and I'm very appreciative, and so are the people in Lansingburg very appreciative that we're not trying to make too many ornamental pieces in that park since it's a usable park. But I can ask and find out. Certainly willing to do that.
Okay, yeah, let me know. And I'll ask about the other stuff too.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cummings.
I think it was mostly covered. Just wondering whether or not the park, the CDTA, these new CDTA bus stops already have power to them anyway, because I think they have like the bus tracking and everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if that makes it a little easier, but obviously that's a conversation that they'll have.
Thank you. Okay, further discussion? Okay, all in favor? We are on resolution 58. Aye.
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 Okay, opposed? All right, resolution 58 carries 7-0. We're going to jump back to ordinance 39. Ordinance 39, ordinance amending the capital projects fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion?
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Stay on
Opposed?
mute, Jim.
Opposed? Okay, resolution 39 carries 7-0. Okay, now we are going to go back to ordinances, and we are going to hit ordinance 31. So I'll let everyone get to ordinance 31. All right. Ordinance amending the capital projects fund and water fund budgets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion?
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Andy?
So ordinances, I'll do 31 and 32 if everyone's okay with that.
Very
Ordinance
good.
31 pertains to the 2013 water fund.
Can I know what funds they are?
Hold on one sec, Andy. I'm sorry, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
I'd like him to tell which 3 accounts are closed. Can he do that?
Yes.
Yeah, yep, and he'll give an
So-
overview. Yep.
Yeah, so ordinance 31 and 32 are the same, they're just for different years. Ordinance 31 is for the 2013 water fund capital plan. Ordinance 32 is the 2014 water capital plan. These are specific, just accounts that are completed. There were 2 consultant services accounts and a vehicle. All purchases or services have been fully rendered for 2013, and in 2014, we closed out the vehicle account. Purchases have been made out of that account after consulting with Chris Wayland. You will also see in there interest and earnings that were earned on the monies to date in the bank accounts for each of those respective projects. That money is being returned to the water fund, as well as these projects were both locally funded out of water fund balance.
Okay. Further discussion, Councilmember Ash McPherson, are you good with those
Yeah.
explanations? Very good. Further discussion? All right, ordinance 31, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, ordinance 31 carries 7-0. We're going to go to ordinance 32. Ordinance 32, ordinance amending the capital projects fund and water fund budgets. Council President Mantillo, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Ordinance 32 carries 7-0. We will hit now ordinance 33. Ordinance 33, ordinance transferring funds within the 2020 general fund budget. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. Andy? This is UFA.
Yeah, so this ordinance is taking money out of the regular general fund contingency account for the arbitration award. This is the ongoing salaries for the remainder of the 2020 fiscal year. Obviously, these are monies outside of the bond resolution. The bond resolution was purely for the retro costs. This being done now because we simply need to know how much money is left in that regular contingency account going forward for the rest of the fiscal year in the general fund. And to answer the question from last time, I talked with Goldberg and Segala. They approximate that their total cost for the arbitration was $60,000. I know that was a question that was asked by a council member, so I wanted to make sure that we had that answer this evening.
Thank you, Andy. Questions, discussion? And as you said, this is totally outside the bond resolution.
Correct.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, ordinance 33 carries 7-0. We did ordinance 34, 35, 36. We're going to hit ordinance 37. So if everyone could scroll down to 37, including myself. Ordinance 37, ordinance transferring funds within the 2020 general fund budget. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully, I believe that was. Andy, we have several departmental budget reductions and departmental. I'm sure everyone has looked through this, but why don't you hit some of the major ones and then we'll go into questions and discussion.
Okay. First, I do want to thank all the department heads that have transfers within here. They were very understanding of the need to review their budgets when they had tight budgets to begin with, and to be willing to have these discussions. It was very helpful, and I do appreciate that. I tried to, in the memo and support, really outline each of the areas. What you see is a significant reduction from permanent salaries in various departments. That's from prior or current vacant positions going out, in some cases, the rest of the fiscal year. Various reductions in temporary salaries, overtime, the corresponding decrease in Social Security from the reductions in permanent salaries, temporary salaries, and overtime, reductions for equipment, a myriad of reductions in 300 and 400 lines, which is other materials and supplies and contractual services, reductions for gas based off usage to date. You'll see a $265,000 reduction in bond anticipation notes we reviewed. We are making minimum pay downs as part of the July issuance and not paying down the amounts previously budgeted for. You'll see a fairly significant reduction in installment purchase debt. Based off of by the time we finally closed on these Siemens projects in 2019, there is no payment to be made now in 2020. We found that out after the 2020 budget was approved and adopted. So we're taking savings from there. And as I mentioned earlier in the overview of the agenda, all of these funds amount to $2,090,000, and that is all going into a specific contingency account separate from the normal contingency to be set aside for COVID, the COVID financial situation.
Andy, I really like that idea that you're completely separating that account. I have some questions, but I'm going to open it up to other members first. Anyone, questions, discussion?
Council President?
Yep, Councilmember Zaluski.
Yeah, I just wanted to, first of all, Andy, thank you. I know we've had several conversations about this and the amount of work that you and the other members of the administration have gone through, to arrive at these numbers is unbelievable. I know you've all spent many, many hours doing this. And of course, working with the department heads, they've all made a lot of sacrifices. Really difficult period of time right now. And it's, I think this provides a good amount of relief in our budget and gets us a little bit closer where we need to be. I also did want to mention, just for the public so that they know, the city council, we control our own budget and we also control the budget of the city clerk's office. And both of those departments, we found reductions as well. I think our budget is about $500,000 between the council and the clerk's office, probably about $493,000 or so. And we were able to come up with, I think, pretty close to $50,000 worth of savings, about 10%. So we just wanted to make the public aware that we as a legislative body also, made some sacrifices. We felt it was our duty to also contribute back to this. It's an unprecedented period of time, and we wanted to do our part. So just so the public knows.
No, I was going to ask you to go into the council reductions. Okay, so that was great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, anyone else? Andy, I just had a couple questions. I noticed the big hit ones, the training, streets, other equipment. Can you hit those real quick? The training, I believe that's maybe for about 40K or more. I can look again, but I noticed those ones were taking big hits. Obviously, we're trying to keep services intact. That's not going to jeopardize, our essential services.
In regards to the equipment, I believe that was anticipated to purchase snow blowers of some fashion. It's going to have to be deferred to another year. Fortunately, that's especially in the equipment area. That's what a lot of this comes down to, is just deferring it out. In regards to the training, that was a long, hard conversation had with every department head. This is not an ideal situation, obviously, and that was something that every department head felt that's included in here, that the reductions created an amount that they could live within, or similar to equipment, it would be training that is deferred to another year, or potential opportunities to do it in-house. So there are a myriad of things looked at with training. That was a very serious conversation that was had with every department head that saw a reduction in that category.
Understood. And the streets, I noticed that was salaries. Are they salaries of positions that we're not filling, Andy?
Correct. So that was, we looked at it, we took salary savings from January 1st through I think when we did it, middle to end of May, and then looked at the vacant positions going out the rest of the year. That was another conversation with all the department heads about, what positions absolutely need to be filled under the guidance from the mayor's office. And calculated it that way, looking at each individual position. So it was to get it as accurate as possible in here.
Okay. And I take it the engineer position that maybe is one of them.
So the we have hired a part-time engineer. The deputy mayor can speak more to that. So what we did as part of this is take the salary out of permanent salaries and realigned it down within the temporary salary line. Is what's being done here.
Okay. Monica, want to fill us in on our part-timer?
Sure. We hired a part-time city engineer. His name is Aaron Vera. Most everybody knows him as our planning commission chair. He actually applied previously when we had looked 2 or 3 years ago. But at that point in time, he had just taken a position with another firm. But he is great. He's got experience. He understands Troy. He lives right off of Hill Street. His wife, that many know, is Lindsay Zepting. She's done a lot of the bike trail work around the capital region and for New York State. So I think they have, they have it in their blood, and they've had a long history at the city and helping us do some work. So he started, I signed the PA, he resigned Friday from the planning commission. So he'll be starting part-time, ramping up. This is an integral hire because everything that we have reviewed gets sent out to CHA. It's a significant monthly cost to have them review projects and help us do that. The emergency calls, we have, building collapses and those kinds of things. And those are things that Aaron can help us out. The $45,000 half a year part-time basis without the benefits and stuff is probably going to be recouped in several months just through the consultant fees that we pay to CHA. We'll still hold CHA for project-based kind of stuff because obviously we want to make sure that we have a third party stamp and do those kinds of designs for us.
Okay. Can you send us Aaron's resume? And
sure can.
Perfect. Is he a PE, Monica?
He is. Yes, that's our requirement.
Very good. Okay.
President?
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
Just 2 questions on that. One, is he going to be using his stamp within our course of our duties as a PE? Or
If
will we
needed.
still be hiring that out?
It depends on the project. You know what I mean? I think it also
Sure, if he's comfortable.
depends. Yeah, absolutely. So I
But
think
if
if
he's
it's a design of a bridge or something like that, we obviously wouldn't have him do that. But as we're reconstructing roads, or within his bucket and his licensing, then that's certainly something we want to run by him and hopefully be able to save some money with CHA as well. I've had a long conversation with CHA, letting them know that Aaron's coming on board. But the other big thing about having an engineer in-house as well too is that they're able to scrutinize the work of other engineers. I am not a licensed PE, and I think it's important that we have people checking all of that for us. So I think it's, that's another piece where we'll be able to have some, hopefully additional savings as well to carve out some of the contract pricing.
Great. And then the second question there was whether or not there's any plan or discussion about taking him full-time eventually, or whether this is the only status he would be in?
Yeah, so eventually, it's something that we're gonna consider. He thought it would be good to be able to start part-time. He does have his own firm. He has a partner. So they're winding down work, and he felt it was something he could manage successfully. He doesn't have any conflicts in his existing contracts with the city as well. We talked about that extensively. Obviously, he'll fill out an ethics form as well too, so a disclosure form. But yeah, so hopefully we get to the point where we can bring him on full time. That would be really great. But it's also just even great to have him on part time and on an hourly basis. And he is hourly.
I was just going to ask that. Okay. Discussion, and you'll get his resume, obviously. Okay. Further discussion on this ordinance? I apologize. Yes. Anything else, Andy, that you wanted to highlight? Ordinance 37?
No, I think I got most. I think we covered most of it.
Okay. I'm going to take a quick slow roll. Councilmember Gully,
Yes.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
Yes.
Councilmember Steele,
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings,
Aye.
Councilmember Zaluski,
Aye.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Council President Mantello. Before I vote, the reason I took a slow roll, as we've talked over the last 3 months, due to the COVID economic shutdown, it's certainly going to and has had an impact, a dramatic impact on our budget. And I think with dealing with the actual COVID and obviously the last week, all of the incidents, the rally, this has kind of been put on the back burner, but this is extremely important. And I just wanted to say it is nice to be unified moving forward. I think it's important that all of us are working together during this very tough budget time. And, you know, even though it's not getting the headlines right now, down the road, our constituents, our residents are going to wonder, hey, what did you do to make up for the revenue that we lost on sales tax? Hey, what did you do to make up for the revenue and the cuts to state aid? And as we have said many, many times, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And I think that's what we're doing here. And I want to thank all of the department heads. I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank the deputy mayor. I want to thank Andy, the council. This is teamwork, and a lot of time and energy has gone into this package tonight. And like I said, it's on the back burner right now, but at some point, should we go into phase 3 or 4, and should we not receive federal monies, federal aid, we are going to hit really, really desperate times. So I just want to give a real shout out to everyone working to try to save essential services, our police, fire, garbage, ensure that our workforce continues being out there working for the people of Troy. And I just wanted to say that I think it's very important that we stay unified moving forward. So I vote aye. All right, so ordinance 37 carries 7-0. We're going to now, we did 38, 39. And we are going to now move to, bear with me, I apologize. Ordinance 40. Ordinance 40, ordinance amending the 2020 general fund budget to appropriate funds from the unemployment reserve. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Andy, you want to give a quick review?
Yes, so this ordinance appropriates funds, so the city, from the unemployment reserve, we have, outside of the debt reserve, 5 other reserves. This saves the general fund $70,000 to the budget. This is not, that we do have one reserve that needs to be replenished. This is not one of them. The thinking behind here is another cost-saving measure from both a cash perspective, because we have cash set aside in the unemployment reserve, and also a budgetary perspective, obviously. This takes, originally we had budgeted $70,000 for unemployment expenses in 2020. That transfers the $70,000 to the contingency account specifically designated. We are taking $80,000 out of the unemployment reserve and putting it into the 2020 general fund budget. The reason for the increase, we have, obviously our staffing has not changed. We have not furloughed, we have not laid off. We have seen a slight uptick in unemployment claims from former employees. We are anticipating a slight increase in unemployment costs. I do know too that there are potential reimbursements available for unemployment costs related to COVID. We are actively looking into those as well. So we are covering that on all fronts, but this is just merely another means to save both on the budget side and the cash side of the general fund.
Thank you, Andy. And just so everybody knows, my battery, the light came on that I was very low, so I had to run and get the lead cord. Any further questions, discussion? Councilmember Cummings?
Just wanted to check what the remaining balance is in the reserve fund.
I don't know. This is not all of it. I don't know that amount off the top of my head, but I can look it up quickly and have that answer at the council meeting.
Great. And are there defined processes for refilling the reserve?
Not for this reserve does not have to be refunded at all.
Okay.
Good questions. Further discussion, questions? Monica has bugs. Nets? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Ordinance 40 carries 7-0. Okay, we are going now to resolution, bear with me, we already did resolution 52. We are now going to resolution 53 we did, 54 we did. We're going to jump to resolution 55. Okay.
No, we're on resolution 59.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
We did
Okay.
55.
50.
Yeah, we're at 59 now.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to scroll to resolution 59. Sorry. All right. I apologize. Resolution 59, resolution authorizing MOU with Capital District Transportation Authority for Powers Park work. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Motion? Make a
Motion,
motion.
Councilmember Cummings, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski, discussion? I think we covered it pretty good. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, resolution 59 carries 7-0. Resolution 60. Sorry. I need 3 screens here.
There's no, resolution
Yeah,
60 was pulled,
Yep.
there's just 61.
Yep, resolution 61. Resolution setting the hourly wages of the assistant to the city clerk. Councilmember Zaluski, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Cummings, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Councilmember Zaluski, want to fill us in what's going on?
Sure. Yeah, by the way, as a sponsor, I don't think I can motion or second. That's why I was.
Correct.
silent.
Second, but yeah.
Yeah, so this is fairly straightforward. The assistant to the city clerk, as we all know, in 2020, we converted that from a full-time position with benefits to a part-time position with no benefits. We've realized those salary savings as part of as part of the clerk's office reduction in their budget. The conversion from salary to hourly was simply because this was a conversation that I had with personnel. That position is actually a non-exempt position, meaning that it is eligible for overtime. As a position that's eligible for overtime, it should be hourly and not salaried. So we made that conversion. It really doesn't change anything. Right now, the current occupant, which is Adam Sanzone, if he takes some time, well, he doesn't, again, because there's no benefits, he does not have accruals. He does not have sick time, vacation time, or personal time. So if he takes time off, for example, on a Tuesday, he's sick, can't come in, he can make that time up, but he can't exceed the 17-hour cap as a part-time position under the UPSCU contract. All this does is this just treats him as the position was already classified, which is non-exempt. And Gabrielle sent us documentation of all of that. That's it.
Thank you. And, I'm glad that we were able to get a ruling on that, Councilmember Zaluski. And
yeah.
Initially, full disclosure, Adam, the present person in that position, I think was concerned. But then he did reach back out to me and understands, obviously, what is going on. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Further discussion, any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, resolution 51 carries, 61, I apologize, 7-0. Resolution 62, resolution approving the city clerk's appointment of Julia, and I hope that I don't crush this last name, Alvarez, as deputy city clerk and setting the annual salary of the deputy city clerk. Councilmember Zaluski, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Cummings, do I
I
have
will second it since I can.
Councilmember Zaluski seconds, and Julia is with us this evening. So if we could ask Julia to introduce herself and talk about where you've been. And this is the first that I'm meeting you. So welcome to our Zoom meeting, and maybe you could fill us in a little. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I grew up in Texas and moved to Troy to go to RPI. I was actually there at the same time as Anasha. I worked for the city briefly in planning, and have done a bunch of other things since then, including doing freelance work with software programming. So one of the things I'm excited about is maybe some areas where we can streamline some data entry and improve workflow. And I'm excited for the opportunity to potentially be working with the city again.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Do council members have any questions, comments?
I do, Council President.
Yep, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Can I ask how many resumes went out or were received for this position?
I guess I can I'll try and answer that. I think we've already been over this back when all of our, when we handled our positions back in January during the organizational meeting. I think for the clerk's office, we had around 10 resumes that came in. I mean, we had this discussion. Julia was the runner-up to the position after Rachel Carter, who was the occupant of that position prior to her departure, her resignation on March 20th. We've kept the position vacant for the last 3 months, and we've realized those salary savings over that period of time, plus the savings in benefits. But Julia had a very, very strong interview. If we didn't already have an occupant in that position, I think Julia would have had it hands down. But now that Rachel is not there, we are welcoming Julia. But yeah, I mean, she was one of the group of resumes that came in way back in, in the November, December time period.
So when was there a discussion for her in this position? Was that recently? Was that just, again, I had no information on this, so I'm just asking.
Well, I communicated this with the council president that we were going to keep this simple back when we were planning to first bring her on board after Rachel resigned. And we think it's important to have a deputy clerk in the office because, let's face it, this is a public facing office. And, if Mara is out sick or something happens to her, or if she just needs to, take a day for her own sanity, we need coverage in that office. So the position itself is important. And I did communicate that to the council president that we were just going to keep it really simple, go with the person that came in, right after Rachel Carter did, and that was Julia.
I would appreciate, we don't have her resume attached to the agenda unless it's just missing, but that would be great if you could forward the agenda. And back before COVID, we had talked about filling Rachel's position. And I think the desire was to do it at that time, and then COVID hit and everything got put on hold. So this is the first I'm meeting you, Julia. I was told that you have a planning background and you potentially may want to go in that field. So I am hoping that Mara could at least keep you in the clerk's office for a little while, because continuity and help in the clerk's office, it's a very busy office. And I imagine once we open up full-fledged, it's going to be extremely busy. And, Mara's really been holding down the fort. A very, very, very good job thus far, but we definitely need a deputy city clerk. I had the fortunate or unfortunate opportunity to be in the clerk's office for 2 months a couple years ago, and I really watched the ins and outs, and it's a busy office. So. Further questions for Julia? Councilmember Ash McPherson, any follow-ups? Okay.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
First, I just want to check that you understand the joke on Ken's shirt. That's a pre-meeting joke, but most I want to congratulate you. Really looking forward to working with you. Obviously, as you mentioned, we went to school together, and I think you're going to be a tremendous asset to the clerk's office, and looking forward to working with you.
Very good. Great.
I am certain, Council President.
Yes, Council.
I am certain that Julia understands that joke.
Yeah, it's a real tech joke. I mean, I knew that Jerry Maguire had to add
Yes.
hello, but obviously not the IT joke behind it. But I was listening to all of you, so. Further questions? Councilmember Gully, did you have any questions for Julia?
I do not. I just want to say hello, Julia. I look forward to meeting you at the office.
Likewise. Thank you.
Anyone else? Julia, I imagine you're going to be appointed. Before you're appointed, I just want to say soon to be welcome aboard, and I look forward to working with you and getting to know you better. So Mara, did you want to add anything?
I'm just very, very glad to have a deputy clerk. I am really glad. I think Julia is going to be a tremendous asset. Just the little bit I've spent time with her already, I'm very pleased. So I'm very glad to have this taken care of. Thank you.
Very
I've
good.
been doing this alone for 2.5 months, and I need some help.
Wait a minute, I've popped in. I know Councilmember Cummings and others have popped in.
No, there's a pandemic happening, actually.
We are very pleased to have a deputy clerk on board, very important in a key position. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Julia, welcome aboard, 7-0.
Thank you. And I look forward to working with all of you and with some of you again.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Okay, with that, I will now take a motion to adjourn in a second. And before we do you want to go right into the regular or take a 2 or 3 minute potty break or whatever you have to do?
Go right into it.
Beautiful. Everyone good with that?
Good with it.
Sure.
And stop laughing.
I can't help it.
What, the potty break?
Just stop, Ken.
You have me at hello. Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we are officially adjourned from finance. And I know that the mayor, I just noticed you had to rub your eyes. Long meeting.
Some of us have already worked 4 days this week.
Okay. And it really has been a long week. I feel like it should be Friday. All right, we are going to now, folks, go into the special meeting and just give me 2 seconds. That happened, Mayor. Your press releases. Okay. I'm on the website. All right, we'll go into the special meeting. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask Councilmember McDermott to lead us in the pledge, if you don't mind.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember McDermott. We'll do a quick roll call. Mara?
Councilmember Gully,
Jim, you're muted.
You're muted. Should be on the bottom, Jim, or should be on your screen. If you look on your screen, maybe.
If you move your mouse, it'll pop up.
Yeah. Look in the left-hand corner, bottom. What was that?
I can't tell you what just happened, but somehow I got locked into some other screen somewhere else, and I could hear you guys. You couldn't hear me, but you know I'm still here. Where else could I go?
You can go to another website.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
I'm here.
Councilmember Steele,
Present.
Councilmember Cummings,
Present.
Councilmember Zaluski,
Here.
Councilmember McDermott,
Here.
Council President Mantello.
Here.
7 present, none absent.
Thank you, Mara. Presentation of the agenda. We just had a finance meeting to go through a package of legislation, budget reduction, short-term borrowing, and some savings, cuts in expenditures, reductions, working with the mayor and the administration to address the COVID economic shutdown. And there's a couple other resolutions, a new deputy clerk, and a couple other resolutions. So that is the presentation of the agenda. Mara, I know you have some public forum.
Yes, the first item I have is from John Sheets, who is a resident of the city of Troy on 112th Street. He wanted to state his lack of support for Ordinance 29. That was on the agenda as a tabled matter. It has not been untabled. And he just said that he urged the city council not to pass Ordinance 29, which would repeal the paper bag fee. I understand that the city is facing economic impacts of COVID-19 and businesses are struggling during these trying times. I understand the state has delayed implementing the plastic bag ban, and if it is necessary, we'll understand delaying the paper bag fee to go into effect when the state requires plastic bags to be banned. Repealing the law entirely, however, does not speak to the spirit of why it was passed, and the members of the council who originally opposed it seem to be using the guise of COVID-19 to attempt to repeal it. The fee does not impact the business's bottom line, but is a fee to encourage consumers to bring their own reusable bags and reduce the waste created by single-use materials. Additionally, as a homeowner who has to pick up garbage on a daily basis from the alley next to my home, I encourage any effort to reduce the amount of single-use materials being disposed of in the city. Reducing the amount of single-use material will directly reduce the costs of garbage disposal for the city. Additionally, as Council President Mantello and Councilmember Gully have wholeheartedly touted that they are endorsed by the New York Green Party, I expect that they will not vote to repeal the law, which is backed by the party they are proud to have been endorsed by. On a different note, in light of recent protests within the city against police brutality, I strongly urge the council and/or mayor's office to release the full secret memorandum commissioned to investigate the shooting of, he says Anthony Thevenin, he means Edson Thevenin. The internal police probe conducted by the police department found that the late Sergeant French improperly forced Thevenin's car off the road and lied about the shooting. I urge that the secret memo commissioned by the police department and reviewed by both the mayor's office and city council that has been said to absolve Sergeant French be released to the public. If the report explains why the shooting was justified, then Thevenin's family deserves closure. Thank you, John Sheets. The second email I have is from Dylan Reese, who lives on Linden Avenue. He says, Council members, on Sunday you witnessed a mobilization of 11,000 peaceful demonstrators demanding swift action be taken to drastically change the way policing is done in Troy. This type of unprecedented public outcry requires an unprecedented response from City Hall. As such, I am calling upon you to publicly respond to the demands of justice for Damik, who organized the rally. The demands are as follows. Number 1, establishment of a civilian police review board with subpoena power. Number 2, justice in the case of the police shooting of Damik McDonald. 3, an end to 287G, the county program that deputizes the county's sheriff's office as a collaborator with ICE. 4, all investigations of police shootings to be handled by the New York Attorney General. Sincerely, Dylan Reese. Finally, I have an email from Mike Yeomans, who lives on St. Vincent's Avenue. And he says, good evening, Troy City Council. My name is Michael Yeomans, and I am a homeowner in South Troy, New York. As all of you are well aware, there is an incredible momentum nationwide imploring us to consider how systemic racism affects our communities across the U.S. The Black Lives Matter campaign seeks to unveil the decades-long subjugation of minorities in the United States and to reimagine governments that invest in community and humanity, not policing and fear. Already we are seeing public officials respond in big ways. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti has promised to redirect $250 million from the LAPD to social services. Bill de Blasio pledged to cut funding to the NYPD and have that in place by the July 1st budget deadline. The Minneapolis City Council promised to, quote, dismantle the police. The 2020 Troy budget has allocated over $20 million to law enforcement and just $450,000 to housing and community development, just $230,000 to youth city services. Excuse me. We should be investing money in social systems that uplift our most vulnerable populations, which would offset the monetary needs of a reactionary police force. The civil rights movement is undoubtedly a movement of today, and for good reason. I implore you all to have difficult discussions about institutionalized racism in this country, to redirect funds away from law enforcement and into communities of color, to learn as much as you can about the pervasiveness of systemic racism in this country. Follow the fights that your fellow public servants have begun in Minneapolis, New York City, and Los Angeles, and please fight to enact change here too. Thank you. Michael Ewens.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
Yes, Amara, I apologize. Dylan sent an amendment to his comments. I thought he sent it to both of us. It looks like he just sent that to me. So I'm going to
I
just
didn't get anything else from him.
Yeah, so I'll just read his amendment. It's very quick, but I want to make sure that it's also entered into the record, and I have forwarded it to you as well. So again, this is same person, Dylan Reese from 12 Linden Avenue. He said, Ken, it looks like Justice for Demeek has posted an updated list of demands, so I'd like to amend my comments to include them. They are listed below and can also be found on the group's Facebook page. He clarifies that BIPOC, BIPOC means Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Number one, establishment of a civilian police review board with subpoena power and representation of no less than 60% of people most impacted by violence and police violence, namely BIPOC, at the intersection of LGBTQIA, young people, people with disabilities, and formerly incarcerated peoples. Number two, the exploration and creation of diversion programs away from criminal justice involvement to community-based treatment alternatives, especially for youth and the mentally ill. Furthermore, in cases involving drugs or substance abuse and sex work, actively reducing unnecessary incarceration, which disproportionately impacts exploited communities and specifically BIPOC. And finally, number three, the disentanglement of county government with ICE and the declaration of Troy as a sanctuary city. So that was an amendment to his original comments, and I hereby submit them for the record.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
I just wanted to take a moment. Obviously, I think most, if not all of us, attended the event last Sunday. But I was reflecting on the focus of it on the police department and being really conscious of the fact that, you know, if we weren't meeting via Zoom, I think we'd probably have a big crowd with us here right now. So I did want to take just a second to play some video of the event last Sunday via screen share. So if you'll just excuse me for 1 second.
Sure.
I'm working on that.
And, you know, while Councilmember Cummings works on it, I think all of us are.
I'll be back in a second.
Awesome. I think we're unified in terms of just the incredible job that our Troy Police, our Troy Fire, the participants, you know, had at the rally. All of us, I believe, attended, and it was moving, over 11,000 people. And we really just had that one major incident, and I certainly was moved, not just by the crowd, but by the message. And it certainly was a model, I think, for our country in terms of people coming together. And we lost Anash, but hopefully he'll be back any second.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Steele.
I would echo that. I think we were all very proud of our city and the way things were handled. And I want to add to your list the administration and all the coordination that went on the week prior. And I think this is a moment for all of us to step up and answer the call. And for those of you who watch Rachel Maddow, we made her show last night.
I heard.
Council President?
There he is. I want to echo the administration. I know a lot of hours went in. Councilmember Cummings. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I apparently had to relaunch Zoom in order to share my screen, but I believe it is ready.
There's nothing shared yet.
Oh, are you not seeing anything?
Not seeing anything.
It's definitely not loud enough. No, King. Yeah, we're not
No.
seeing anything, Councilmember Cummings, but we're hearing it. There's, you have a share screen, right?
Well, maybe this will work better.
Yep, there we go.
Visible now.
Very good.
Hopefully it is audible as well, but obviously you all were there as well, so.
Yeah, there's no audio, but I'm getting video now.
Getting chills watching it. It was just so moving.
So I don't know if everyone could hear the audio or not, but hopefully some of the visual came through, and many of you heard the audio when you were on site last Sunday. Obviously, tremendous outpouring from our community, over 11,000 people present, filling the streets of downtown Troy. And I think I just want to make it clear that as much as change is being called for, a lot of that does fall on us, and that's work that we're going to have to do over the next coming months. So look forward to working with all of you on that process and engaging with the public on seeking the change that's needed.
Yeah, we didn't get the audio, Councilmember Cummings, but the pictures. And is that drone footage or just Facebook Live? Or
that's just from my phone.
nice, very nice coverage. Thank you. And I mean, I get chills every time I see pictures and just footage. But being there obviously was truly moving. Okay, moving forward, anyone else before we get into the legislation? When I was giving just folks a pat on the back for just an amazing job on Sunday. I did forget to mention the mayor and his team and the administration. Really, truly was an incredible job by all. Thank you. Okay, we'll go into the legislation, and we are going first before getting into Ordinance 30. And just for the public, we have gone through many of these in detail for the prior 2 hours. So if you don't hear huge debate or anything, catch the finance meeting prior to this as we spoke about much of this legislation. So resolution 55, resolution Mara?
I think we want to start with 52, the seeker.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Resolution 52, then 55. Thank you, Mara.
Resolution determining that proposed actions are type 2 actions for purposes of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 52 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Now we're going to go to resolution 55.
Bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of an additional $655,000 serial bonds to finance parks, playgrounds, and recreational area improvements. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion?
No, I didn't second that.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Steele. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 55 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
We are going to jump to Ordinance 30.
Ordinance amending the Capital Projects Fund and General Fund budgets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Ordinance 30 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
We're going to jump to Resolution 54.
Bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $275,000 serial bonds to finance the cost of the acquisition, installation, and upgrade of police cameras on city streets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 54 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 34.
Ordinance authorizing the city to create a capital project and amending the Capital Projects Fund budget to allow funding for said capital project. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 34 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 53.
Bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $350,000 serial bonds to finance the reconstruction of various streets in the city. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 53 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 35.
Ordinance amending the Capital Projects Fund and General Fund budgets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 35 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 57.
Bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $165,000 serial bonds to finance the cost of various projects for the fire department. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ashton McPherson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 57 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 36.
Ordinance amending the capital projects fund and general fund budgets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 36 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 56.
Bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $180,000 serial bonds to finance the cost of various projects for the police department. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ashton McPherson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 56 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 38.
Ordinance amending the capital projects fund and general fund budgets. Council President Mantello.
At the request of the administration.
Oh, I'm sorry, at the request of the
That's
administration.
okay. That's okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 38 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 58.
Bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of an additional $100,000 serial bonds to finance the rehabilitation of Powers Park. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 58 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 39.
Ordinance amending the capital projects fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 39 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Okay, let's go back to Ordinance 31.
Ordinance amending the capital projects fund and water fund budgets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 31 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 32.
Ordinance amending the capital projects fund and water fund budgets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 32 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 33.
Ordinance transferring funds within the 2020 general fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 33 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Okay, we're going to jump to Ordinance 40.
37.
Oh, 37. How did I miss that one? Ordinance 37.
Ordinance transferring funds within the 2020 general fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a
I will
motion?
make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 37 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Okay, ordinance 40.
Ordinance amending the 2020 general fund budget to appropriate funds from the unemployment reserve. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson, and I know Andy has a number for us.
Assuming this passes, there will be $176,000 remaining in the reserve.
Councilmember Cummings? Okay, thank you, Andy. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 40 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Okay, we are going to jump to resolution 50, don't tell me, 59.
Resolution authorizing MOU with Capital District Transportation Authority for Powers Park work. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 59 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 61.
Resolution setting the hourly wages of the assistant to the city clerk. Councilmember Zaluski.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 61 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
And resolution 62.
Resolution approving the city clerk's appointment of Julia Alvarez as deputy city clerk and setting the annual salary of the deputy city clerk. Councilmember Zaluski.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion? Just want to once again welcome Julia to the team.
Not yet.
Kind of got a feeling it may pass. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 62 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Welcome.
All right. Anyone, housekeeping, anything? I will take a motion to adjourn if not.
Motion.
To adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Councilmember Zaluski. Is there, before a second, I just once again want to thank everyone. I think this was good teamwork this evening and some very important business. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mara. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Stay well.
Thanks. Good meetings.
Stay well, everybody.